consequent result of J-Spot Planning Commission recommendation, County Council approval or denial of the mining influence zone density analysis and overall density determination in association with the existing J-Spot target density.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Well, I was going to the first period I came to, and it was quite a ways down. So it's listed there in its entirety on the front page of the agenda. So
I'll try to explain what's going on here. So this shows the J-Spa properties, and you can see the canary yellow piece on the lower left-hand side of the screen is the piece we're talking about today. So that's the Mountainside Resort property that's been purchased by BLX Mayflower or Extell. I also wanted to show this rendering just to show the scope of this project. We've got the 30% expansion of the Deer Valley ski terrain over here. We've got this village area and the Maida Air Force Hotel and Conference Center, which would be this building right here. And so what we're talking about is the density on this project. And I wanted to go through and give a little bit of history. I don't want to get too deep because I know there's people in the audience that can call me on anything here. So real quick, in 1984 there was a density determination granted on the Mayflower property. In 1987, a development agreement was recorded. 2002, there was adoption of the RSPA ordinance that codified the 1,024 ERUs for the Mayflower South property, which is this mountain piece. Then in 2015, the J-SPA ordinance was adopted that again codified the 1,024 ERUs. There was also a change between units and ERUs. When Mayflower was originally granted density in 1984, it was by units. So it was all changed to ERUs. And October 2015, application for master plan density and constraints analysis was submitted for the Mayflower piece, for this piece, by Stichting Mayflower. In November of 2015, the planning department determined that that application was complete, which meant that it was a vested application. We did not move forward with that because we knew at the time that there was discussion about Extell closing on the property, and we focused on the Mayflower North piece and the Marina piece, which, as you know, received their master plans and are working through other approvals. When it was determined complete, the code at the time allowed commercial density to not be counted towards that target density number. That meant retail, hotel, straight hotel, didn't include condo hotels. So that vesting is very important to the applicant. February 2016, over 2,300 acres of Mayflower Stichting Mountainside parcels were placed under a letter of intent with the Extell entity. October 2016, the Mountainside parcels were officially contracted via a purchase and sale agreement. November 2017, BLX Mayflower, an entity of Extell, closed the escrow on the Mountainside parcels. May 2018, an amended application for Mayflower Resort was turned in. July 2018, BLXM to make an irrevocable donation of a $16.2 million, nearly 7-acre parcel to the Military Installation Development Authority and the United States Air Force for a military recreation facility and conference center. So that last bullet point is the reason we're here today, because they intend to make that donation at the end of the month, and they're hoping to get some not an approval, but some understanding from the county and the council of where they're getting their density and if you're in agreement with how they're getting that. So this is not an approval of density or master plan. That has to come back at a later date. and maybe I just explain my next slide. So as I stated, it's not an approval. The intent is for the county to understand the general rationale used in determining the density, and that the applicant is consistent with county expectations prior to them donating that property to the Air Force. The JSPA PC is scheduled to meet on the 17th and consider this same scenario. And then the county council scheduled for the 25th to provide a motion, not on density or master plan, but just that you understand and you're in agreement with the rationale of the density and how they're coming up with that number. This is the 1984 master plan. There were two alternatives. One was with the lake and one was without the lake. This is the version without the lake. Highway 40 goes somewhere through here. So this is the mountainside property. This was part of that 1984 master plan density determination and development agreement as well. And it shows this peanut-shaped piece of property that was referred to as the mining influence zone. And the 2002 RSPA code and the 2014 JSPA code all reference this mining influence zone. And so let me just read what this says in the code. It says the ODD, the original development determination, restricted development in an area called the mining influence zone on the basis that mining may continue. Mayflower now has the power by court order to limit and restrict all mining development on the surface of the property to avoid interference with all recreational and residential uses in the development pods within this mining influence zone. No density has been assigned to this area. The plan on B14 provides for development on a small portion of this area, making all of this area available for development would have resulted in a significantly higher original density. An increase in density as a result of development within this mining influence zone would be subject to a physical constraints analysis and the preliminary approval submission by the developer. So what that means is there's areas in that mining influence zone that were never planned, never granted a density. This isn't a density bonus, it's planning areas that were part of that mining influence zone. So this shows where that area is. Extell took the general area of that peanut shape and drew a circle around where they felt was the mining influence zone. You can see the X's and the triangles and the circles there, which are areas that have had, should I say, contaminated soils? Is that testing that has been done? They've entered into a voluntary cleanup program with DEQ to clean up the mining areas of that property. And so they've taken the more intense areas of the studies and said, here's where we feel the mining influence zone is. We had the previous applicant overlay the peanut shape that I showed you previously on this master plan, and what they thought the peanut shape represented was more like 35 acres in that neighborhood. This is about 26 acres. So what you can see by this is that the existing JSPA plan shows density on these areas here in the crosshatch. What they're proposing to do as part of this mining influence zone is expand those areas into areas that are under 30% slope and that weren't accounted for in the original 1024 target density. So by doing that, in the medium density, they come up with 15.5 acres outside of these crosshatched areas. And the village density is 5 acres outside of these crosshatched areas. And you can see here that in this village area, the densities are very high. So the medium density here, that's 15.5 acres, is 6 to 20 units per acre. the high-density Village Center property is, these colors don't really correspond with what we think, but it's 80 units per acre there. So by taking that 15.5 acres and multiplying it by the 20 units per acre, you have 310 units per acre. And with the 5 acres of the Resort Village high density at 80 units per acre, it's 400 units per acre for a total of 710.
So does that number on this J-Spot Planning Commission staff report change? They got 474. Is that just broken down?
Well, no, what they've done is I'll show you in a minute. And you'll notice those are the maximum densities. In the code, there's no real performance requirement. It's here's your density range, here's your heights up to 8 stories. If you can park it, if you can landscape it, if you can put your roads and everything in, those are the densities you get.
So the mining influence zone, are they asking for an additional, it sounds like, 474 to 710 ERUs by now including it? And this wasn't part of the 84, the 02, or the 14 study?
Yeah, this is not part of the 1024 that was codified in the J-Spot or the R-Spot code.
These would be additional ERUs or units that they're asking for.
That were never planned. Yeah. So again, you got the J-Spot target density of 1,024 ERUs, the mining influence zone of 474 to 710 potential units. Now, we don't want to mix ERUs and units because an ERU, one ERU, depending on square footage of the unit, you could have 4 hotel rooms for 1 ERU. So just to add 474 units into the 1024 and have 1498 ERUs is not right. Those units need to be reconciled and it can't just be a straight transition to ERUs, if that makes sense.
You can't know what the one.
It can't be a one-to-one because each ERU, like I said, potentially if you have a 400 square foot hotel room could be 4 units. So, and that's what we're going to have to work through.
So what about the commercial? I mean, I thought they were vested under.
They are, and I guess my example of a commercial unit's not a good one because if it's a straight commercial,
That's what I was going to
straight
say.
hotel,
Commercial, we don't.
It's not
It's
counted.
different.
yeah. And those are the numbers we need to crunch, or they need to crunch, is figuring out of that 474 to 710, if that's the number, how much of those are hotel, how much of those are commercial, what's straight residential. If it's a condo hotel or a condo unit, that's going to count. And then it's got to be reconciled to an ERU. With the hotel and the commercial, if those are all ERUs, they're saying they're at 1908. That number's probably going to change, but just to give you a breakdown on the uncounted density, they've got hotel and commercial ERUs of about 410. And then on top of that is 25 or 250,000 square feet. But that's factoring into the 410, sorry. In that, there's 250,000 square feet of commercial, 68,000 square feet of recreational, and then 95,000 square feet of workforce housing. So none of that counts at all towards that target density. Let me explain what the land donation means. When they give that to the Air Force, they are committed to build the Air Force Hotel. And the Air Force Hotel is not a hotel that has written on it, Air Force Hotel. It's a 4-star Wyndham or whatever it'll end up being, but it's a branded hotel with a certain number of rooms reserved for hotel at a lower rate. The rest of the rooms are market rate for anybody who comes in.
A certain number reserved to the military.
For the military, yeah, at a lower discounted rate.
And on your rent.
Yeah. It takes that hotel area into the MIDA control area, meaning that we don't have land use control over that 6-acre, almost 7-acre piece anymore. It also allows for the possibility of tax increment financing. So until the Air Force has a piece of property, there's no tax increment, and there cannot be a tax increment until they have a piece of property. It also establishes a base year for the TIF financing. And if there's questions on that, I'll have to turn to Mike, but it's not like we're stuck getting the taxes on Greenbelt forever until the 25 years expires. It's improved ground with the horizontal improvements done, road, sewer, water, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, road, sewer, water in that appraised value, and the increment is that level versus an occupied hotel, condo unit, whatever it is. And then that tax increment comes back to the county for use as ski improvements, infrastructure, parking, trails, roads, all those things. Yeah, portals.
That thing that we designated that priority list.
Yeah, the study that we had done by Ms. Young. This is the Air Force piece. It's kind of hard to see out of context, but Highway 40 is down here. So you have the ski runs and lifts up here, and the ski beach here, kind of a main street right here, and then you've got the hotel, structured parking, and then the conference center here.
Go ahead. There were two pieces that were going to be in the MIDA control area. Whatever area was the MIDA, designated as the MIDA, or the military hotel facility, and then the Blue Ledge. Are they one and the same now, or are there still two separate?
They're separate
MIDA control
parcels,
areas?
but they're both MIDA controlled. Extell owns them both.
Okay. And so we still have that other MIDA control area?
Yeah.
Or two. Everything else is counted, in the J-spot is counted land use.
Yeah, now there's been discussion, I don't know if I'm premature on this, but there may be discussion on having the road that accesses the military hotel in the MIDA control area or something like that, just so they can all be done at the same time. But that's yet to be worked out.
Okay, well, then, the military hotel will be on the full 6.2 acres.
Well, you've got the conference center too, and I'm not sure if part of this piece is a detention pond or what that is there. It's a pond.
Okay, so they established the value for this at $16.2 million. Would that be the value of the base year value?
I don't know that. I would assume not. I would assume
Just raw land.
Yeah, that's the value of the raw land if the village all goes in around it, if everything anticipated happens around it, but I don't know what that would mean for tax, the base tax year.
But my understanding is that the issuance of building permit, our assessor's office would have a base value. And so anything that goes above that, whatever that value is that they determine, and then once it's completed, if it's the hotel, once it's completed, then there's a value determined at completion date. That's the increment bracket. But our county assessor does make the determination
Going
of
to
the
be
value.
establishing a base value.
They are.
And it's critical because the increment,
That's what they start, the base value.
Well, it is. And
it's easy to appraise it when it's all done.
right. We do, the one thing that Doug did mention is we have development on the east side that does have some approvals now and is ready to develop. If it starts to develop before this happens, it cannot be grandfathered, and we would then lose that increment of that development. So if Mayflower Marina starts to develop before the property's here, before MIDA owns a parcel of ground, we lose the ability then, now we'll collect the taxes on it, but we'll lose the ability to pay for the portals and parkway and things with that increment on that
Yeah, but
development.
they'd also lose the ability to use the tax increment, their portion of it.
They don't, yeah, they would get nothing.
There would be no tax increment
there'd be no taxing.
But this is why, that's probably why this is soon, they want to get this going pretty good.
It's a little bit of chicken and egg going on here, of trying to get property and trying to get approvals and do those things. And one of Doug's challenges, and I weighed in on it, was that trying to assess this whole, it's a very large parcel, it's a lot of property, a lot of value, a lot of units. This mining influence component of it, which was, we put into the code back in '84, has not been addressed, ever. We've never done anything like this. And so I think Doug's looking for some comfort to say we can proceed to go through that process. It doesn't grant the master plan approval, but it gives the developer the target with his target density to say this is what the potential of this property is. And so we do need to address that property. It has some development right. We don't know what it is without going through this mining influence process. We've never done it, so I don't know what to call it.
But what we're asking for right now is just a nod from you to say, yes, go forward to the J-Spot Planning Commission, and then it'll come back to you on the 25th. And it's just saying, yes, we agree with the rationale. Master plan will come back to you at a future date and density determination. But like Mike said, they want some comfort level before they hand over the property to the Air Force.
Is this the only parcel that has any mining influence in the Jordan Basin?
Yep, it is.
So the only one we'd be addressing?
Yes.
Those across the road, those areas, that's not considered mining influence?
So it's a unique thing, I guess that's what I was thinking, a precedent, or we said some kind of a precedence, but it's a unique thing that we...
The 1984 density determination and development agreement that got recorded that showed the peanut shapes. That's only this piece of property.
Does exactly. Can we say something?
Yeah, let me wrap up here real quick. There's a rendering of the Air Force Hotel, and I don't know if you can see the conference center from that view, but the findings, and these might be more appropriate for your meeting on the 25th, but just real quick, the RSPA and JSPA codes allowed for additional density in the mining influence zone by going through a density determination process. The right to mine on the site is no longer allowed by court order. The expedited timing is due to the irrevocable donation of the military property. The 6+ acre property is valued at $16.2 million. That's their appraisal. Until the military owns a piece of property, the tax increment cannot be established. The mining influence zone density is in addition to the target density. And under the vested application, commercial density and workforce housing densities do not count under the vested application. Workforce housing would never count, but under the application, the commercial doesn't count.
Okay. That's all I got. Mr. Craig. Craig, is it?
Creed.
Creed.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Thanks. I'm Kurt Creed from Extell Development, representing BLXM. Doug did a great job presenting this. I just wanted to make certain that the council understood this isn't a new request. In the original application that's pending with you all, the ERU count is 3,292, which is broken up of bonus density as well as mining influence. We're not asking for any bonus density. We are going back and seeking mining influence to make sure that we have enough capacity and density to support the village itself. And as Mike kindly said, it is a chicken or the egg game. Our New York office is looking for assurances before we donate this land, and the appraisal was done for the military. We did have to get appraised value for the land, that we have enough capacity to make sure the conference hotel works within a holistic approach of it. And we're not through the entitlement process with Doug yet, but we have to donate this. This donation allows for the tax increment financing on the other side to begin and to pay for the Jordan L. Parkway, and the military is ready to accept it. So again, that's really what we're looking for and why we're looking for to do this.
Okay, thank you. Now, you've been getting 3,000.
The original application had 3,292 in it, 500,000 square feet of commercial. I'm not saying that they would have gotten that, but that was broken into 3 different things. It was broken into the J-spot density, bonus density, and mining influence density. And it's all laid out in their original application that we accepted upon purchase.
Okay, now we went through an application, and maybe you can help me, Doug, in January of the water board for a total of 2,448.
And that was Mountainside? That was
Yes.
South? Like Kurt said, they turned that in, we didn't deem it complete. That doesn't mean that they would have gotten that number.
Just a sec, I got you, hold on just a sec. So any other questions for Doug on that before we take another, I got you.
The original application was the number, I think, that was, I represented Mayflower.
Oh,
With the original
you got
application. The original application was that 3,000 number, but over time, Mayflower reduced that number from 3,000 to come up with the water board requirements. So it started at 3,000 something, was subsequently reduced and accurate according to the water board demand.
So the application in front of Doug right now is for the 2,448.
Put me on the spot. They're looking for around 1,900 ERUs. But we're going to have to reconcile the 470 to 700 mining influence zone units and convert those to ERUs and see what number that is. And you might have to take all 710 to convert to the ERU number you need to get to the 1,900. I don't know.
Depends on what they build.
Does anyone on the council then feel like this is something that cannot move forward, at least see where we can, I guess is the question you want to ask. Speak up if you don't feel like this is something we can move forward with and see where we fall with the J-Spot planning and the council.
I mean, obviously, I feel like we could move forward, but I would be hard pressed to vote for any additional density than what's already entitled on that piece of property. I think we would want to look carefully at this mining influence area and see, does it have entitlements? And I want an opinion from our planning director and our legal staff that they do have entitlements. And I would be hard pressed to vote for anything more density than what is given on those existing
What was
entitlements.
already.
What is entitled right now.
Okay.
So I think this piece of property has already got plenty of entitlements without any additional.
I think we do have to recognize the 26 acres in that mining influence area that was never calculated as having a density. So any ERU.
Yeah, but we could have to take it back and see what zone it would be in, and if it's what zone it in, it may have three units,
Anything,
or less than one.
Well,
anything
and
for
the other thing is, I mean, we can come up with the 3,291 or the 2,448 or the 1,908. When you get into looking at sensitive land and sloping that doesn't guarantee you're going to have that many units or ERUs.
Yeah, when they submitted their drawing, I'll scroll back to it real quick.